not liars. Soldiers, speak out. We have a duty to all children and to their futures. Soldiers, speak out.
Welcome, Colonel Dr. Shabazz, to our studios.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you're very welcome. And Rhonda Shabazz, how are you?
Good, good.
Good, good. It's been a wonderful long day. I take it you are fasting, both of you?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So
It's been
this-
a very long day.
yes, indeed. So thank you for coming. And Colonel Shabazz, tell us about yourself. What are the roles and responsibilities, or what is a chaplain does for our audience, so they can relate to it? You know, how does a chaplain help, or mission readiness? How does it help in different stages of a soldier, their wife, their kids, and all those lives? Just if you could give us a brief overview or something.
A chaplain does a myriad of things, most of behind-the-scenes type work. To get soldiers ready for deployment, get soldiers ready for marriage, help soldiers in difficult times in their marriage. Whatever a soldier is going through, that's what the chaplain is there for. So the chaplain comes equipped with a variety of skills with counseling, conflict analysis, and things of that nature. So to answer your question kind of compactly, our job as a chaplain is to ensure that the soldier is strong, that he is ready and prepared to deploy at a moment's notice. And what that means is him having a strong family life and a strong foundation. And so that's, if I could just sum it up very quickly, that's what we do.
Rhonda, I wanted to have a service member's spouse, very much so, in a studio sitting right, because our audience understands and they need to see that a soldier is not just one person who's working. When a soldier gets deployed, when a soldier is on duty or off duty, it is the whole family. And soldiers cannot function. He has a spouse, he has kids. So really, as the saying goes in the army, you know, it's not just one life, a soldier, his wife is always there, you know, in the service, even though it's only the soldier which is on the payroll, but it's the wife which has to do lots of heavy lifting in different stages of their own lives and their own journey. So would you please speak to some of that or some experiences in life?
So I think that the biggest thing for spouses probably is trying to balance, especially if you're a working spouse, like I'm a working spouse. So just trying to balance kids, marriage, work, and everything that kind of goes along with that process. My job is very detailed, and sometimes when I come home, I'm very, very tired, much like he is. We both deal with parts of the world that are demanding on the brain. So I work with currently with domestic violence and child abuse. That's my primary job.
For ICOR?
Well, our directorate now is the Directorate of Personal and Family Readiness.
At Fort Lewis?
At JBLM, yes, Joint Base Lewis McChord. And so we work on the prevention side, trying to prevent those things. So we are trying to take care of families as well, getting them ready so that they're mission ready. So if they are ready on the prevention side of knowing how to take care of their families and that their families will be taken care of when they leave, then they are also mission ready. So it's just it's a balance. Some days it's easy, some days it's not so easy. But you know, we make the best of it. We do it. It's the country that we love, and anything that you love, it's worth fighting for. So.
Yeah, it's worth putting that extra mile, that extra time as individuals and as families to do the greater work that we are called upon to do in wherever we find to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about your life and Army life and how it started and how long you've been in, and just an overview.
Yeah, my Army life started out of necessity. I had a beautiful girlfriend, and I wanted to find a way, like any good man, find a way to take care of her and any future children that we would have. And so, coming from a lower socioeconomic background, for me, the military has always been the top priority or the top option. So I went down to the recruiter's office, signed up, and I told her, "Hey, we're going into the military, and would you marry me?" So soon after that, maybe about 3 or 4 months, I was working at Kmart. About 3 or 4 months after that, I went to basic training, and that's where it all started about 26 years ago. And so going into the military was especially good for me because I needed some discipline. I needed a regimented lifestyle. Just left to my own whims, I kept getting in a little trouble, kind of rambunctious type person. Came in the military, found some things that were kind of tough for me. So I started out very rough. But in the midst of that type of turmoil, I found a young man who was talking about some Islam stuff. He was a Muslim, and I was saying, what is Islam? What is a Muslim? And I was a learned person in Christianity, so I challenged him to a debate. And it was in that debate, he kind of sent me into a tailspin because he was saying some things that that I found to be coming up in my childhood. I thought they were untrue. Like I didn't know Muslims believe in Jesus. I didn't know how and what depth that the Muslims believe in Jesus. So he gave me all of these scriptures. I went back and I went to the Bible and the Quran, and I studied those things, and it sent me into a further hole because I was saying, man, why didn't I know these things? Why aren't these things being taught? So after about 2 years, I decided to fully convert in 1995 to become a Muslim down in Fort Polk, Louisiana. And at that time, I was still going through some things, and it was a chaplain, it was a Christian chaplain, who said, you know, hey, we got our first Muslim chaplain on active duty. You're a very intelligent person, you're well-spoken, you have some education, why don't you become a Muslim chaplain? And I gotta be honest with you, it was like a light had went off in heaven with my name on it. And I came home and I told my wife, and I was so excited, like,
This is back in 95?
yeah, I want to be a chaplain in Fort Polk, Louisiana. And she's looking at me like, okay, yeah, you could be a chaplain. And I said, but I'm gonna have to get out the military and go to school. And she said, okay, you're not gonna be a chaplain right now. No, but she was very supportive. But I mean, I was so entrenched in this thing. I got out of the military, went to the School of Islamic Social Sciences, studied in Herndon and Leesburg, Virginia. Studied there for 3 years with 2 years in between going to Arabic, University of Jordan. And I came back as a chaplain, and I've been here for the last 18 years and been doing very well. And I've been doing well, in my opinion, because I lead with my heart, not with my religion. I think I have to meet human beings where they're at, because all of us are at varying stages of our lives, and so I strictly focus on taking care of people, not their religious needs, but their human needs, and by doing that, I've been very successful. So,
how's the journey have been for you?
It's a tough one. I think initially I was overwhelmed with Islam. And It was me being a new military wife, me learning about Islam, but it was probably more about me leaving the one thing that I knew, which was Christianity. It was the one thing that was constant in my family, and for the women in my family, it was the one thing that I was raised upon. And it was just a difficult time, and on top of that, we were in a total different country, and so it was just
In Germany or?
in Germany.
In Germany?
That's right.
So it was just, it was overwhelming at first. But you know, with time and a little studying and learning and adapting, it's become easy now. You know, it's an easy process now because I've found myself. Initially, you know, it's about trying to find yourself, and you've got a new job, and you've got this, and all of these different things, and so it's very hard to find it all at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an easier place right now because internally I found myself.
Beautiful.
So,
People say that you, both of you, are such a wonderful two peas in a pod, you know, and they're, you know, you're so wonderful and so, you know, good friends to each other,
yes.
and good mentors to each other.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we were friends prior to, before the relationship. I mean, we had a kind of symbiotic relationship where we were joking and clowning and kind of horseplaying, and it was
it's what we call flirting.
yeah, we call
Perfect.
it flirting.
So,
Yeah,
you know.
I was flirting. She probably was really playing, but I had my eyes on the prize.
Okay, good.
I'm an ambitious person, right?
Good.
So. Yeah, I mean, our whole relationship, I remember, let me tell you a story. So we were down in South Carolina, and I was kind of the guest imam down there, and afterwards they had a question and answer service. And it's not uncommon for me when I see my wife, or, you know, I can be not around her for the 10 minutes, and I'll go up to her and hug her and kiss her on the cheek, and we did this in the mosque. And it was a young guy that came over. He said, "Oh my God, I've never seen like any affection in the mosque." I said, "She's my wife." He said, "But we just don't do that here." And you know, for me, it's a commonplace. I mean, she's my wife. I love her. We like got this great relationship. So why should I like hide that in the mosque? I think you should be kind of a role model for the kids to let you know, the marriage is cool. I mean, except when I have to wash the dishes. I mean, but
Good. Just change the mindset.
That's what it is?
You're not washing dishes. You're playing in water.
Yeah.
yeah, wow.
My mother taught me that. So we had
Yes.
like, you know, 10, 11 folks at home.
Yes.
You know, our grandparents and my dad's family lived with us, and I will do always the dishes because I always wanted to play in water.
You did.
So
I don't like water.
good one.
And
We're gonna fix spikes.
Okay, good.
You're
This-
the loud one. If you guys wanna pick up where you left off.
You got it.
MOS was the
Your
last one.
microphones apparently are not even working. They're
So tell us about what was your first MOS?
my first MOS was a 13 Bravo, which is a field artillery man. So I did that for a while before I became a chaplain.
Great. What would you like fellow Americans that need to know about more than 10,000 American Muslims serving in our nation's military?
Well, what I would hope they would focus on, that the Muslims in the military, just like any other American, we're serving our country because we're proud to serve, and we do it out of a duty, just like anybody else. But on the backside of that is Muslim Americans, we also have some, I won't call them special needs, but we do things sometimes a little different, like Friday prayer or Ramadan. In the month of Ramadan, we fast for 30 days. So what I do as a imam or a chaplain, I stand as a buffer or a liaison with the commanders and explain to them, first by memo, some accommodations of what the Muslim soldiers need, and then, if need be, I go in and have a fireside talk with them and kind of explain to them some of the things that the Islamic soldiers need for accommodations. Let's for example, we do physical training in the morning, every morning at 06:30. Well, you know, for the Muslims, you know, we talk about no food, no water. Doing physical training in any type of heat, even in Seattle here, you got another 14 hours before you can actually drink water or eat food. So it could cause that person to be a heat casualty, or it could cause the person to have dehydration issues. So we go into the commanders and say, hey, we would like for this person not to do physical training in the morning. They could do it in the evening if they so choose, or my particular persuasion is I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I go and run and do my push-ups and all that kind of stuff, and then I come home and hydrate, and then I pray.
Great. So how is it like supporting a chaplain, you know, because it's not just the chaplain, it's the chaplain's wife, which is a very important role, because ups and downs happens in soldier's life. So how is it like for you?
You know, I try my best to make home life stress-free. I know that with his job on a daily basis, that he's dealing with issues that nobody else wants to deal with. So he doesn't get any good issues. He's
That's
always
right.
getting the bad issues.
That's right.
So I do my best at home to not bring up, you know, the bad things of the world. We try to separate those things as much as we possibly can. You know, there's some confidentiality that goes along with that as well. So we really don't have to discuss a lot. There are some times that we've discussed things because we've counseled together with couples, or if we're teaching classes together and information comes to us by virtue of who he is, then we deal with it in that way. But for the most part, I know exactly what his job is. I know what it entails, and I know what I need to do to make life easy.
Good, wonderful. What was the toughest counseling situation you encountered when your faith helped you help a service member in need of counseling?
Well, for me, it's always going to counsel people after a person in their family dies, because I'm so sensitive to that. Many religious people, maybe they know how to deal with death. At 49 years old, I still hadn't come to grips with death and how that process is carried out. I understand and I comprehend everything the Quran and the Bible says about it, but to actually have a person here 1 minute and then the next minute they're gone, that is something I struggle with. So going in to talk to a family member about a person that is deceased is very difficult for me. My faith brings me through that, because I know, as we say in Islam, Wallahu alam, that, you know, God knows, you know, only God knows. And so I deal with it from that transcendent point of view, to know that whatever happened to that person, then it was in God's will, it was in God's time, and then I'll deal with it from that perspective. Just recently I dealt with a child's passing, and you're talking about, you know, heart-wrenching. The family entrusted me to give the sermon, even though they were a different faith, which is huge, by the way. And but a part of me, it was very tough for me to even get through the sermon, because you're looking over at a casket with a young child in there, and you can't help but think about your own children. So that was very difficult for me. But I knew, and you're talking about the role of the chaplain, I knew that it was my job to be strong for those people who lost their child, and for the audience to give them hope that things would be okay. So,
how does your faith affect the way you think about this work?
yeah, my faith for me is everything. You know, I am obviously a convert to Islam. So when I found Islam, it changed my whole identity and how I look at the world. And I see Islam as a service organization. as a service religion, as a service to human beings. And so I approach people. We have a saying in the military, you meet people where they're at. I don't meet people through my 25 years of learning, through my education. I meet people exactly where they're at. In our profession as an officer, you won't hear an officer call the enlisted person by their first name. I call everybody by their first name because I want to meet them on a personal level so they'll know no matter what time and place, I can go to Chaplain Shabazz and he's going to help me. So my religion, in my opinion, has taught me that. You know, there are verses littered throughout the Quran. It talks about in Surah 107 in particular, it talks about taking care of neighborly needs, right? It's really talking about being an assistant to those people who are if you have an affinity to, who are poor, right? Those people who are orphan. It's talking about those people who are needy. And then God goes on in that verse and talking about not being praying to be seen by men, right? Totally. So when I think about stuff like that, religion is not necessarily an outward expression so people can see you. It's really an obligation to help other human beings, and so that's how I live my faith. I had a guy probably about, and it happens at every duty station. I'm helping these people through their most difficult times. And after you bring them to a certain point, it's always amazing. They say, man, I never really knew you were an imam. For me, that's transcendent because he just saw me as a person to help. And then later on, they find out that I'm an imam, and it changes the way they think about the religion. See, I think we're ambassadors for this religion, and so that's how I carry myself.
You had a saying at JBLM. Colonel Shabazz says that the day the soldiers stop bringing their problems to you.
That's right. Yes, that's actually a quote from Colonel Colin Powell. He said. General Colin Powell, it says that the day soldiers start bringing their problems to you, either they figure you don't care about them or you can't help them. Something, I'm paraphrasing General Powell, I hope he don't fire me. But I have it on my emails. I talk about it in all of my speeches. They even concluded that you just don't care. Recently, probably about 3 months ago, we had this young man. He was sweeping the floor, a young private first class, and I put my hands on him, come in early in the morning and sent out emails to my people. And I said, hey, good morning. He said, tears in his eyes. He said, why would a guy like you even care about me?
Totally.
And for me, I see me sweeping that floor as a young private. When I was in trouble, people would just walk by, wouldn't even talk to me because those soldiers are in trouble. And so I never walk past those soldiers. I always sit there and engage in conversation with them because I know it's important.
Yes, it goes back to the concept of don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
That's correct.
Don't throw out the soldier.
That's correct.
Just because of
that's correct. Yes, that's right.
Discussion. So what would you say to someone with an interest in this work?
Well, this work is a selfless work. It's not a selfish work. When I first came into the work, I used to come back from hail and farewells, and I used to tell my wife, the selfish part was like, they thanked everybody in the room, but me. Like I'm talking to these people when I'm helping them with their problems, and nobody's thanking me. And that's when you get that tap on the shoulder. It's like, hey, fool, this work is not about you. It's about you being there for them. And after I left that place, I understood somewhat. I hadn't totally evolved and matured into that, but now I understand this work is about them. It's not about me. I don't need the credit. I don't need the glory. And what happens is, because I've been that way, all of these great things are happening to me right now because you've put in the initial work, and now all of the promotions and the, positions and all of those things have come about. And I think personally, and just humbly saying, it's because I put other people first.
So what inspires you?
What inspires me? It's a myriad of things that inspire me, but one of the things that really inspired me is the ability, and it's something, it's almost like death, I don't understand it, but the ability for words to transcend people, right? Your presence, being able to transcend a human being. In these speeches, I get to go around the Army and talk, and inevitably, somebody from that speech comes and said, you just changed my life. That speech that you just said, and I'm very transparent, that speech that you just gave changed my life.
That's a good inspiration.
I have no idea, but I mean, you do it, so.
Who did you look up to as growing up as a child?
I was fortunate enough to be raised by my great-grandmother. Probably up until I was about the 6th grade is when she passed. And so in her, I saw a virtuous woman and a woman who walked the walk and talked the talk. And it's hard to find them nowadays.
That's right.
But I definitely had that from my birth up until about 6th grade.
How blessed.
Yes.
Yes.
How blessed. So I say that, I said, Zahid, I am who I am today. And one of the biggest influence in my life was my grandmother. So,
Yeah.
so who did you look up to when you were growing up?
Well, I grew up around very strong women. I looked up to my mom. My mom raised 3 children alone. And so, honestly, I never really even saw her value until I got older and I was married. I was riding along in the car one day, and I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong, but it was a song by Boys the Men that was on, and it was talking about Dear Mama or something. I know that's Tupac, but it's another song by Boys the Men. And I just started sobbing in the car and realized, man, it's tough having a mate with 3 children, but not having anybody in the home shouldering that type of load for yourself. Yeah, she was absolutely a stalwart in my life, and she honestly she made me. People see the big body and the physical prowess that I have, but I'm a very sensitive human being, and my mom made me like that. She just touched on me all the time and kissed on me and all that kind of stuff, and communicated with me because I was the only boy in the family, and so she never had a brother. So she made me a very sensitive man, and I used to hate that about myself. Now, man, Allah is so great. Because I'm the sensitive man that I am, I've done very well in counseling. I've done very well in the military. I've done very well as a chaplain because I have the ability to listen to people.
Speaking of that, who have been the most influential people in the development of your faith?
Honestly, I was the strongest man I'd ever seen in my life was on a television screen. I saw Malcolm X. Malcolm X to me was a transformative figure, and not because of how he spoke and what he said. He transformed me because when he was in the cell with an 8th grade education, he learned every word in that dictionary. Now, people saw a lot of stuff in that movie. I saw that, and the reason that stuck out to me is because I never thought myself to be a smart person. I was in the special education in the 8th grade. I failed the 9th grade. I had to go to summer school to graduate in the 12th grade. So I never thought myself to be a smart person. And when I saw him educate himself, it was transformative to me, and I said, whatever he is, I want to be. And my wife is here; she'll bear me witness. I came home to her in Baumholder, Germany, and cried on her shoulder.
So,
Yeah.
Talking about education, the values of education in our faith, there is a saying, humans must educate themselves
Yeah.
from the lap of the mother to the grave.
That's right.
So talk about your education. What you graduated year 12 GED or something. What did you do after that?
Well, I graduated high school. I was on
Undergrad?
I was on a basketball scholarship to Jarvis Christian College, and so I went there. And of course, I'm playing basketball. I'm not thinking about education. I mean, I just need a C to pass to continue playing basketball,
And then
right?
you did masters though.
Yeah, but I mean, I got thrown out of college for fighting, and then I came into the military. And the great thing is, go back about your mom, because I got thrown out, and I was there an extra year. I had finished all my coursework, but I was there an extra year. But when I got thrown out of college, I didn't receive a degree. So when I came into the military, the great thing about having a strong mother is she sued the college for my degree. And so when she sued them, after a couple of years, they gave me a degree, and then I was able to go to the master's class. Yeah.
I think you have multiple masters. Would you tell us, the audience, what did you do? I think you have 1, 2, 3, maybe master's degrees, maybe 4, but yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I have 4 master's degrees and a PhD, but people think that you go back and get those degrees for some type of self-gratification. I went back and got additional master's degrees because I never felt smart enough, right? And so it goes back to special education. It goes back to failing in the 9th grade. I never felt equipped enough, so I kept going back to get education. So I thought, man, maybe if I get another degree, I'll feel comfortable in my skin. So yes, I have 4 master's degrees and a PhD.
Then you did the PhD, doctorate in...
Higher education administration.
Yeah,
Yes.
wonderful. You're so busy, both of you are so busy. You have kids, you have grandkids, you have, here at the battalion chaplain, is it the correct word? Or
Division chaplain.
division chaplain.
Yes. Mhm.
And so much work. Did you volunteer? Do you find time to volunteer? Do you sometimes?
She volunteers more than me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm at home reading or preparing for the next day, or I teach school at night when that's available. Yeah, she does a lot of volunteering, and honestly, if she pulls me along to those things, so yeah.
What are the most significant challenges your family had to overcome, and what your lessons you and your family learned from these challenges? That's for you.
The most difficult challenge? I think the most difficult challenge, at least for me, would be moving.
You're moving again.
Yeah.
PCS.
Well, I might stay here, but
Okay.
I think it's moving, because moving requires you to start over with everything. Start over with a new job, start over with new friends, start over with trying to explain Islam to everybody, or
Yes.
what it is that you believe or you don't believe, and
You have 3
trying
kids.
to make, yes,
And-
yes, I have 3 kids, but they're older. Our kids
Yeah,
are
they're older
older. Our son, who's 26, is with us, but our girls are in Texas,
Okay.
and they don't live with us. So
Yeah.
so we are empty nesters.
But you got the orders. I think today was your farewell. Yesterday was your.
Today was my
Today.
farewell.
Today was farewell. Thank you for making time to be here. I really appreciate it. So Hawaii for next 3 years, maybe a little bit later for you. You have a job at also independent, separate job.
Yes.
Along
Yes.
with.
Yes. So every time we move, it's me trying to get a new job, get another job.
Yeah.
It makes it very, very hard. But with that also is a blessing, because I've been able to do different things as a result of
That's
that,
right,
not
right.
being able to sit in one position. So I've worked in different arenas, and it's made me a more well-rounded person.
What did you enjoy most about being part of the Muslim community?
South Carolina was good. We had a great time at the mosque in South Carolina.
I know we had a great time, but
Yes.
I'm just trying to think of, repeat that question again, so I make
what
sure.
do you enjoy most? What do you enjoy most about being part of the Muslim community?
I guess not having to explain anything. Just, you know, being
Great.
around like minds.
Great answer.
Yeah,
Yes.
just really being
Yes.
around like minds.
What are your greatest concerns about American Muslim children growing up in our society today? Either one.
From my foxhole, I'm a big identity guy, and what I mean by that is I'm not ashamed to be Muslim. You know, I love Islam because what it did for me. So my concern for Muslim children is twofold: that they get the right education, right Islamic education, not necessarily the hardliner stuff, political stuff. They actually understand the Quran and how accommodating it is, and how flexible it is on a lot of situations, and they not be afraid to walk in their Muslim identity. And the second part of that is, if they don't get the right education, it is bad to assimilate and think that somebody else's identity is better than yours. There's an inherent danger in that. That goes to a lot of self-esteem problems, self-confidence problems, and eventually, you know, that leads to a whole host of other things, you know. So those things for me are very touchy, because you want people to accept you for who you are. And those people who don't accept you for who you are, then, you know, you have to move on and find somebody else who is
Did you have
accepting
any
you.
experiences in your life, maybe when you became a chaplain, came to your job?
Sure.
Would you like to share that experience?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I had a variety of experiences where people don't particularly accept me as a Muslim chaplain, and it could be a variety of issues, like it could be news outlets that show Muslims in a derogatory light. My first duty station, you know, I had a commander to say, hey, we got some problems with you and how you guys, your religion, how you guys treat women. Have a nice day. He didn't speak to me for 9 months.
That was the commander.
It was a commander, but for me, again, you meet people. I started off this interview saying you meet people where they're at. That was his feelings. So what do? You know, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, do not get angry. Don't get angry. I went to work, man.
Every day.
I went to work. I went to be with soldiers, take care of soldiers. And, you know, alhamdulillah, that developed a philosophy for me. I don't go into commanders looking for favor. I go to work. I go take care of soldiers. And then the soldiers tell your story, and it gives you validity, and those commanders will love you because they know you're about taking care of soldiers. So to that commander's credit, after about 9 months, he came out in front of battalion formation, which is about 1,000 soldiers, and said, hey, I have wronged one of my officers. He's a good officer. He gave me a coin in front of everybody in tears. And that is the transformative effect that you can have by being an ambassador for this religion or for whatever you believe, not being so caught in your own feelings. Did it hurt? Absolutely it hurt. Oh, yes. You know, I want to be a part of the team. But I've had a variety of experiences like that, not necessarily so in your face, but I had a variety of experiences where people don't accept you initially, and then you just go to work and then you prove your wealth.
Something has to be said about being an ambassador of goodwill. That concept, the basic concept of humanity, being an ambassador of goodwill. And that's what chaplain does. That's what, you know, chaplain's wife does by being married to a chaplain.
Yes.
You know.
She shows me a lot of goodwill all the time. She's very nice to me.
Wonderful. What concerns you most about the anti-Muslim comments printed in news or opinion sections?
I don't dig too deep into them.
Yeah, that's right.
There are comments I can find about me being a woman. I can find about me being a Muslim. I can find about me being black. I can find about me being short. I can find them about anything. So I really just don't even concern myself with what other people have to say.
Are you short? It's so beautiful. I didn't notice.
Yeah, so I don't. I mean, do I see them? Yes, of course we all see them, but I think it's all walks of life.
Have you
Yes.
or anyone in your family have been taunted, bullied, attacked, or threatened for being a Muslim? Describe the situation, what happened, what was going through your mind, it was happening, and how did it affected you?
Yeah,
and your
we're
family?
the only Muslims in our family.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So you get it all the time.
Yeah,
So,
I'm just saying, we don't get it at all.
Honestly, we really have
Yeah.
been blessed
We've been
in
blessed.
that
Yeah,
area.
we've been blessed, really.
My family makes accommodations for us
That's
more than
correct.
they make accommodations for
They respect us a great
anybody.
deal.
The people that I've always worked with have been excellent
Yes.
colleagues, and so I just personally haven't had to deal with that a lot.
Yes.
So what are your greatest hopes and dreams that you wish will happen, come true for the future of American Muslims, families, and children's nationwide?
I guess my greatest hope is that we can all accept each other for who we are.
Yes, ma'am.
Not just non-Muslims accepting Muslims, but vice versa as well.
Yes.
Sometimes we are our own worst enemies in being that ambassador for the religion. And I always tell everybody that we are more alike than we are different.
Yes.
And if we focus on that, then
Building
we all,
bridges.
yes.
Building bridges instead
Yes.
of building walls
Yes.
Yes.
between humanity and between different intersectionalities
Yes,
of life
for
at
sure.
different
That's right.
stages.
That's right.
So
You know, the Quran says that I have made you into many tribes and families. Not that you despise one another, but that you get to know one another. It goes back into this identity, the thing that we're talking about. If you have a firm identity in who you are, you don't have to be afraid of the next nationality or person that doesn't look like you, a person that doesn't speak like you. And so it goes back again to this ambassador thing. Now, if you're comfortable in yourself, then you can go and I, honestly, I can sit with anybody. My wife not criticized me for this, but she said you can just go and start a conversation with a phone post.
sure.
But I can. I mean, because quite honestly, Islam has given me the confidence to walk into any room at any time and start a conversation with anybody and be comfortable in my own skin.
Okay.
I didn't have that before Islam. She knew me before Islam. I didn't have that before Islam. And that's just one of the greatest things about this journey that we've been on. So when she talks about we have an experience, when 9/11 happened, he was a lieutenant colonel. He called me and he said, "Hey, we want to come down and get you, and you and your wife and your kids, you could stay with us." And I said, "Absolutely not. We're going to stay right here, where these people love us. We don't have any problems." I mean, he thought, well, maybe we were going to be having some problems. I mean, those people gathered around us and loved us and never said a word to us about any bad things. So we've been very fortunate.
Very, very blessed.
Yes.
So here, in this community, people came to the mosque and they said, we would, protect you so that you can pray, on your Friday prayer, not in fear or not even come to your Islamic center, because everybody has a spirituality,
Yes.
their way of meditating, and if you want to do that, your prayer on Friday will protect you. But I had my own, experience in the same state of Washington, Eastern Washington, praying Asr, and then the rocks coming in, breaking the window and hitting me,
Wow.
and it kept on for a long time. So it's good to have different perspectives,
Yes.
and different experiences. It doesn't mean one community is better than
That's
or
correct.
worse. It is just, people say, oh, people are just people. They act out of fear, or they act out of other things, but it's trying to be our best to be a goodwill ambassadors for wherever we are.
Right.
Right.
I was a mental health specialist in the Army, and the things we have to do. And at the end of the day, the mission is taking care of the soldier.
Yes.
Taking care of the soldier, mission readiness, and doing the best we can, regardless of the circumstances we've been thrown in.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's so wonderful having you today. I know you got to pack up. You got to go to permanent change of PCS, permanent change of station.
Yes.
And and today was your farewell, and tomorrow might be Eid. Today might be the last day of Ramadan, and it's all those things, and you're fasting for haven't eaten or drank or anything for 16, 17, 18 hours. And you're very graceful and under stress and under work and so many commitments all day and the bad traffic and then all the things, you have several other commitments after that. So but it's that pushing ourselves, always pushing ourselves with patience and love and compassion,
Yes.
to be the goodwill ambassadors.
Yes.
So who knows, we might be ambassadors one way or shape or form or other in our remaining or future lives.
Yes.
So I was really touched, and people have mentioned that they wanted to hear from both of you. So I get questions from my audience, and I'm open to it. Below you will find my email and contact information if you would like to hear other shows, or other things, people as guests, as talking talent who would you like to hear from, please let me know. So I see, we still have some time, and let us know your views, anything else you would like to share, and yeah.
No, but we are definitely ambassadors. We work in the community. I belong to a sorority. It's a national sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and we do volunteer work. And we are community members like anybody else. And
What sort of work, Rhonda? Just tell me. I'm not very familiar with what kind of volunteer work does the Alpha Kappa Alpha does?
So we do, our program has, generally we have 5 target areas that we focus on, one of them being education, one of them being health, one of them being family strengthening. We have a global impact target. So we do different things like restoring playgrounds, or feeding.
On base or in private community?
Anywhere,
Private community,
wherever we can find it. We're willing to go
So
out and
civilian
volunteer
and
and do
army,
that. Both. But we have different chapters. Locally, we have a Tacoma chapter, but we also have a Seattle chapter. There's other chapters in Washington as well, but those are the 2 closest. We have programs where we teach kids about global impact, recycling. We teach them about resume writing, job interviewing. It's 9th grade through 12th graders. So we try to do a little bit of everything. We have gone to the urban church in Tacoma, and we do on the 5th Sunday, we go out and feed the homeless there. So we just try to step out and do a little bit of everything. So we try to partner with different people for mental health purposes. And like the leaders in women's health, we partner. We're going to try and partner with them to do mental health first aid. And so just different aspects of the community. Alpha Kappa Alpha is definitely a part of that.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's so wonderful to hear. Great work building bridges. Building
Definitely.
bridges. Anything else we'd like to share?
Just from the perspective of family, we are a really big family people. It's an old saying that sometimes we plant so many flowers outside the home. We have weeds growing up in our own yard. So even though we're very busy, we spend a lot of time together. We do. We spend a lot of time, even if that time is sleeping, right? So we.
Yeah, 18 hours working outside.
Yeah, that's
Get a
right.
Soldiers,
That's right.
community,
We do
volunteer
take
work.
naps
We do
together.
take naps every
You know,
together.
That's the only time,
Yeah, but I mean, it
4 to 6 hours.
it creates a symbiotic relationship between us. I mean, if we coming home from work, we take our nap, and honestly, I mean, until 11:30 at night, we're just kind of needling each other, laughing and clowning, because you have to have a restorative way to kind of regenerate the love between each other. I think sometimes we're so involved outside of our community, we forget the basis of why we even came together. And so, you know, the Prophet Muhammad said that the marriage is one half of faith.
Oh, totally.
And so if you understand that correctly, then part of my obligation is to balance myself. Our obligation is to balance ourselves. And I think you're talking about being an ambassador. When people see, I mean, they comment on our relationship all the time.
I heard a lot.
Yeah, so when they see this, they saying, well, wow, is you know, excuse the slang, that's how Muslims get down? You know, because they're saying, well, I mean, they got a really, really good relationship, you know, so even our children, what a compliment for your children to say, you know, I want a man like you, Daddy, or, you know, my son to say, I need a woman like Mom,
Totally.
you know?
Being
So,
good role models.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes, for sure.
And
Yeah.
balancing life is just
Yeah.
so wonderful. But, you know, I was, in addition to, and I was thinking, release of hormones. And when we don't spend that quality time in a relationship, in a spousal relationship, in a marriage, you know, I mean, nothing goes on by itself. And you make that relationship. You connect with your spouse, and and then spending that quality time, it releases those love hormones, and then it connects us deeply. And that, you know, just like a friendship, the older it is, the more, just like rings of a tree.
Yes.
The marriage, a family, you know, if we manage it, you know, nothing maintenance, nothing goes on. Everything needs maintenance, whether that be body, a relationship, or a machine. And that maintenance is so important.
Yes.
To keep that balance.
Yes. I mean, and the more she sees me, I mean, it helps her to continue.
We have to deal with other people's relationship on a daily basis.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
So
part
I'm
of the job.
teaching prevention classes and relationship reboot classes, and he's doing counseling. So when we come home, sometimes we're like, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
We're good. Yeah,
When
we're
we
good.
think about some of the
Yes.
other problems that other
Yes,
people have,
that's right.
we do. We
Thank
do.
you for
So-
the great work that you do at Joint Base Lewis McCord in your job for our community, for our base, and for the government, plus also the extra jobs you volunteer work, plus all the extra jobs you do, and counseling for soldiers and their contacting their wives and building those bridges. And thank you so very much.
Yes.
You know, it's been such a wonderful evening.
Yes,
Thank you so
barakallah.
very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank you.
having us.
It was a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Muhammad Zahid Chaudhry. I'm your host of Veterans Hour, and today we were so blessed to have Colonel Dr. Khalid Shabazz and his wonderful wife, Rhonda Shabazz, as our guest. Till the next time, you know, I'm your host, Zahid Chaudhry. Have a wonderful evening.
Soldiers